The war council's dilemma, the Nexus Command Center, floated in the void between galaxies. A massive crystalline structure that hummed with energy from a dozen different power sources. Its location was known only to the highest-ranking military, officials of the Galactic Defense Coalition, and for good reason. Today, it housed the most important gathering in recent galactic history. Commander the Svar of the Korthok Empire stood at the center of the circular chamber, his scaled hands gripping the edge of the holographic display table. Around him, representatives from 4 major galactic powers had assembled for what many considered their last hope. The chamber's walls displayed countless star maps, tactical analyses, and battle recordings, all focused on one troubling subject: humanity. "We have suffered 17 consecutive defeats," Dexford announced, his voice carrying the weight of military tradition. 17 separate engagements where our superior technology, numbers, and strategic planning have failed against a species that barely understands quantum mechanics. The assembled council members shifted uncomfortably. General Lerona of the Veilani Collective, her energy-based form flickering with distress, spoke first. "Our predictive algorithms account for every known variable: temperature, atmospheric pressure, gravitational fields, weapon capabilities, troop movements. Yet every simulation ends the same way." "Show them," commanded High Strategist Zixark of the Zephyrian Hive. The insectoid being's compound eyes reflected the holographic display. As it sprang to life, the first simulation materialized above the table. A perfectly rendered battlefield showed Korthok shock troops, their armor gleaming with defensive fields, advancing on a human outpost. The tactical display indicated overwhelming alien superiority in every measurable category. "Standard assault formation," Dexver narrated. "Our forces outnumber theirs 3 to 1. Superior firepower, better armor, advanced communications. Victory probability 97%. The simulation played out exactly as predicted for the first 30 seconds. Then everything changed. The humans abandoned their defensive positions and began doing something the aliens had never seen before. They started singing, not just singing, but singing while fighting. The human defenders coordinated their movements to rhythm, turned their battle cries into harmonies, and somehow managed to create a psychological effect that completely disrupted the Korthok advance. The alien soldiers, trained for millennia in proper warfare, had no response to enemies who treated combat like a musical performance. They won through melody, Dexver said, his voice hollow with disbelief. "Our post-battle analysis indicates they synchronized their neural patterns through vocal harmonics, creating a form of collective consciousness we had never encountered." The next simulation loaded automatically. This time, Veilani energy beings attempted to overwhelm a human research station. The aliens' plan was flawless: phase through the station's walls, disrupt the power grid, and force surrender through technological superiority. "We had accounted for every possible countermeasure," General Lerona explained. "Electromagnetic shields, particle barriers, even gravitational distortions. What we did not account for was this: the humans in the simulation responded to the energy beings' attack by activating every piece of equipment on the station simultaneously. Microwaves, communication arrays, medical scanners, even the coffee makers. The resulting electromagnetic chaos turned the station into a maelstrom of conflicting energy patterns. They created a feedback loop," Lerona continued, "not through sophisticated technology, but by using their everyday devices in ways we had never imagined." Our energy forms were scattered across 17 different dimensions. It took us 3 days to reconstitute. High Strategist Zixok activated the third simulation with a gesture of his primary arm. The hive's approach was different. We attempted to overwhelm them through sheer numbers and coordination. Our drones operate with perfect unity, each unit serving the greater whole. The simulation showed thousands of Zephyrian warriors descending on a human colony ship. The attack formation was beautiful in its precision, each drone perfectly positioned to maximize damage while minimizing losses. The human response was chaos. Pure, uncoordinated, individual chaos. Every human seemed to be fighting their own separate battle, using different tactics, different weapons, even different objectives. Some tried to board the alien ships, others attempted to communicate with them, a few actually started trying to capture drones as souvenirs. We had prepared for unified resistance, Zixok explained. Our tactical matrix could predict and counter any organized defense, but they fought as individuals, each one unpredictable, each one impossible to categorize. Our collective consciousness could not process the sheer randomness of their response. The fourth simulation belonged to the crystalline collective, Ambassador, Resonance of Truth, their silicon-based representative. Activated the display with a harmonic vibration that made the chamber's walls sing. Logic, the crystal being intoned. We believed logic would prevail. Our approach was mathematical perfection. Every angle calculated, every variable accounted for, every possible outcome analyzed. The simulation showed geometric precision as crystal ships moved in perfect mathematical formations, their weapons firing in calculated patterns designed to create inescapable zones of destruction. The humans responded by doing something that broke every law of military science. They improvised, not just tactics, but physics. They jury-rigged their ship's engines to create gravitational anomalies, turned their life support systems into weapon systems, and somehow convinced their navigation computer to calculate impossible trajectories. They made their ship exist in 2 places at once, Resonance of Truth admitted, not through advanced technology, but through creative misuse of basic equipment. Our logical frameworks simply could not process actions that defied fundamental mathematical principles. The chamber fell silent as the last simulation ended. Commander Vexfer looked around at his fellow military leaders, seeing his own confusion reflected in their alien features. "We have studied them for cycles," he said finally, "analyzed their technology, their biology, their psychology. We have the most advanced military minds in the galaxy, computational power that exceeds their entire civilization, and resources that dwarf their wildest dreams. Yet we cannot defeat them. We cannot even understand them." General Lerona's energy form pulsed with frustrated patterns. "They do not follow patterns. Every other species in the galaxy operates according to predictable parameters. Even we, with our different physiologies and cultures, make sense to each other. But humans, ... humans are chaos," Zixok finished. "Organized chaos, but chaos nonetheless. They do not think like we do. They do not fight like we do. They do not even exist like we do." "Perhaps," suggested Resonance of Truth, "the solution is not to defeat them, but to understand them. If we could comprehend their chaotic nature, we might find a way to predict their unpredictability." Vexfer was about to respond when the chamber's emergency systems activated. Red lights bathed the crystalline walls as warning sirens wailed in harmonics that each species could understand. "Alert, Alert. Unauthorized vessel approaching the facility. The automated voice switched between languages as it repeated the warning. Security breach in progress. All personnel to battle stations. The council members looked at each other in alarm. The Nexus Command Center's location was one of the most closely guarded secrets in galactic military history. Only the highest-ranking officials knew its coordinates, and the space around it was monitored by detection systems that could spot a grain of sand from 3-star systems away. "How is this possible?" Dexter demanded, his claws extending in preparation for battle. The tactical display switched from war simulations to real-time sensor data. A small, battered-looking vessel was approaching the facility, broadcasting no identification codes and apparently unaware of the massive weapon systems now tracking its movement. "Ship configuration unknown," the computer announced. "Technology appears to be ... primitive. Very primitive. Estimating technological level at approximately ... This cannot be correct." "What is it?" General Lerona asked, her energy form flickering with anxiety. "Computer estimates the vessel's technology level at early space age. Fusion engines, basic life support, minimal shielding. The ship appears to be held together with the computer. Is having difficulty processing this ... metallic tape." The vessel continued its approach, seemingly oblivious to the weapons now trained on it. As it drew closer, the visual sensors were able to provide a clearer image. The ship looked like it had been assembled from spare parts, patched with what appeared to be industrial adhesive, and painted in colors that didn't match any known military specifications. It's a maintenance vessel," Zixok observed, his compound eyes focusing on the display. "A human maintenance vessel." The chamber erupted in confused chatter. How had a simple human maintenance ship found the most secret military facility in the galaxy? How had it bypassed security systems designed to stop entire fleets? "Incoming transmission," the computer announced. A human voice crackled through the communication system, barely audible over what sounded like music playing in the background. Hello. This is Jake Martinez, aboard the maintenance vessel, good enough. I think I might be lost. My GPS is showing some kind of error, and I've been flying in circles for about 6 hours now. Could somebody maybe point me toward the nearest space station? I'm supposed to deliver some coffee filters to Outpost Charlie 7, but I think I took a wrong turn somewhere." The greatest military minds in the galaxy stared at the display in stunned silence. After years of trying to understand human tactics, strategy, and psychology, one had simply shown up at their front door, asking for directions. "Commander." Dexter S. scaled face contorted into what might have been either determination or despair. "Bring him aboard." The human factor, the docking bay of the Nexus Command Center had never hosted a vessel quite like the one that now sat steaming on the polished crystalline floor. Jake Martinez's maintenance ship, officially designated as good enough, looked like a testament to human ingenuity, stubbornness, and a complete disregard for engineering aesthetics. Jake himself emerged from the airlock carrying a toolbox in one hand and what appeared to be a sandwich in the other. He was a tall, lanky human with graying hair, wearing coveralls that had seen better decades and a name tag that read Jake in faded letters. "Thanks for letting me dock," he said to the 6-foot-tall reptilian security chief who had been assigned to escort him. "I was running low on fuel, and my sandwich was getting cold. You guys got a microwave around here?" Security Chief Corthell stared at the human in bewilderment. He had been prepared for anything from a diplomatic envoy to a special operations soldier. He had not been prepared for a maintenance worker who seemed more concerned about his lunch than the massive alien fortress surrounding him. "You will come with me," Corthell said, his translator rendering his words in what he hoped was an intimidating tone. "The Command Council wishes to speak with you." "Cool," Jake replied, taking a bite of his sandwich. "Hope they don't mind if I eat while we walk. I've got a schedule to keep, and I'm already about 6 hours behind." The walk to the command chamber took them through corridors lined with advanced technology that represented the pinnacle of 4 different civilizations' achievements. Jake looked around with mild interest, occasionally commenting on the architecture or asking about the purpose of various devices. "That's a nice force field generator," he observed, pointing at a barrier system that could stop a battleship. "We've got something similar at the station, but ours is held together with duct tape and hope." "Does it make that humming sound all the time? Because that would drive me crazy." Corthell found himself answering questions he had never expected to field. "The harmonic frequency is designed to resonate with hostile neural patterns, creating a deterrent effect." "Huh?" Jake said, swallowing another bite of sandwich. "That's clever. We just put up a sign that says, 'Do not enter,' and hope for the best." When they reached the command chamber, the assembled council members had arranged themselves in what they hoped was an intimidating formation. 4 of the galaxy's most powerful military leaders, representing billions of soldiers and the most advanced technology in known space, faced a single human maintenance worker. Jake looked around the chamber, taking in the holographic displays, the crystalline walls, and the various alien dignitaries. "Wow," he said. "This is fancy. Are you guys filming something? Because I should probably mention that I didn't sign a release form." Commander Vexbar stepped forward, his scaled form towering over the human. "I am Commander Vexvar of the Korthak Empire. You are aboard the most classified military facility in galactic space. How did you find this location?" Jake shrugged and pulled out what looked like a handheld device made from spare parts. "GPS said to go straight, but I think it got confused when I passed through that weird nebula about an hour ago. It kept showing me as being in 17 different places at once." "That is impossible," Resonance of Truth intoned. "Our location is masked by quantum scramblers and dimensional displacement fields." "Yeah, my GPS does that sometimes," Jake replied. "It's got a bug in the navigation subroutines. Jerry from maintenance was supposed to fix it, but he's been saying that for about 3 years now." He took another bite of his sandwich. "You guys mind if I ask what you're doing out here? Because this seems like a pretty expensive setup for the middle of nowhere." The council members exchanged glances. General Lorena S. energy form flickered with uncertainty. "We are conducting military exercises." "Oh cool," Jake said. "War games. I used to play those on my computer when I was a kid. What's the scenario?" "Hi." Strategist Zixox's compound eyes focused on the human. "We are attempting to develop strategies for engaging human military forces." Jake paused, mid-chew. "Wait, you're planning to fight humans? That seems like a bad idea." "Why?" Dexter asked, genuinely curious despite himself. "Well, for starters, we're really bad at following rules," Jake explained. "I mean, you probably spent a lot of time coming up with proper tactics and strategies and whatnot, right? Humans don't really do that. We just kind of ... figure it out as we go." "But surely your military follows established protocols," Lorena insisted. Jake laughed. "You've never met Colonel Harrison, have you?" Last month, he won a training exercise by convincing the opposing force that they were actually participating in a cooking competition. Half their army spent the day making sandwiches, while the other half tried to figure out what was going on. The aliens stared at him in horror. That is not possible, Zixok said. Military forces cannot be deceived so easily. Sure, they can, Jake replied. Humans are really good at being confused. It's like our superpower. We get confused, and then we do something random, and then everyone else gets confused, and then we win by accident. Resonance all through's crystalline form vibrated with distress. This does not make logical sense. Military victory requires planning, coordination, and superior tactics, does it? Jake asked. Because I once saw a guy named Pete accidentally disable an entire security system by trying to plug in a coffee maker. He wasn't even supposed to be in that building. He was just looking for the bathroom. The council members looked at each other in growing alarm. Everything this human said contradicted their understanding of military science, strategic planning, and basic logic. Perhaps, Dexver said carefully, you could explain how humans approach military problems. Jake finished his sandwich and wiped his hands on his coveralls. Well, first we panic. That's really important. Then we argue about what to do. Then somebody suggests something crazy, and we all agree that it's stupid. Then we do it anyway, because we can't think of anything better. And this works? Lerona asked. Most of the time, Jake said. Sometimes it doesn't, but then we just try something else. The thing is, we don't really know what we're doing, so we can't predict what we're going to do, which means you can't predict what we're going to do either. The chamber fell silent as the implications of this statement sank in. The greatest military minds in the galaxy had been trying to predict human behavior, but humans themselves couldn't predict their own behavior. Let me show you something, Jake said, walking over to the holographic display. This is one of your war games. Right? He gestured at the frozen simulation, showing the Korthok assault on the human outpost. See, here's your mistake. You're thinking like soldiers. Of course we are thinking like soldiers, Dexver said. We are soldiers. Right, but the humans you're fighting aren't soldiers. They're just people. People who happen to have weapons and a really bad attitude about being invaded. Jake pointed at the human defenders in the simulation. These guys aren't following military doctrine. They're just trying not to die while making sure you have a really bad day. But the singing, Zixok said. Why would they sing during combat? Because they were scared, Jake explained. Humans sing when they're scared. We also tell jokes, make up nicknames for our enemies, and occasionally have philosophical discussions about the meaning of life. It's called coping. And the electromagnetic chaos? Lerona asked. Panic response, Jake said. When humans don't know what to do, we try everything at once. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it always makes a mess. Resonance of truth's crystalline form pulsed with what might have been understanding. So human unpredictability is not a tactical advantage, but a psychological defense mechanism. Pretty much, Jake agreed. We're not trying to be confusing. We just are. It's like asking a fish why it's wet. The council members stared at the human maintenance worker who had just solved their strategic puzzle with a casual explanation about fish. There is one more thing, Dexver said slowly. How did you really find this facility? Our security is impenetrable. Jake reached into his toolbox and pulled out what looked like a standard maintenance scanner. This thing's been acting up lately. It's supposed to detect equipment failures, but it keeps picking up weird energy signatures. When I was trying to find my way back to the shipping lane, it started going crazy near that nebula. I followed the signal, and it led me here. That is a standard maintenance scanner, Corthall observed. It should not be able to detect our facility. Yeah, that's what I thought too, Jake said, but Jerry modified it last month. He was trying to make it detect coffee stains on the hull, but he accidentally made it sensitive to quantum fluctuations. We keep meaning to fix it, but it's actually pretty useful for finding lost equipment. The aliens realized that their most advanced stealth technology had been penetrated by a device designed to detect coffee stains. Well, Jake said, checking his watch, I should probably get going. Those coffee filters aren't going to deliver themselves, and I'm already way behind schedule. He picked up his toolbox and headed toward the door. Thanks for the directions, by the way, and good luck with your war games. Maybe try thinking less like soldiers and more like really confused, really stubborn humans. As Jake left the chamber, the council members stood in stunned silence. They had spent years trying to understand human military capabilities, and a maintenance worker had just explained it all in 20 minutes. Was that a military strategist? Lerona asked. No, Dexfer replied. That was just a human. Should we detain him? Zixox suggested. He has seen our facility. What would be the point? Resonance of Truth asked. He will probably forget where it is by tomorrow. Commander Vexfer looked around at his fellow commanders, seeing his own thoughts reflected in their alien faces. Cancel the invasion plans, he said finally. All of them, are you certain? Lerona asked. We have been trying to defeat an enemy that defeats itself on a regular basis, Dexfer explained. They are not a military threat. They are a natural disaster. You do not fight natural disasters. You avoid them. As Jake's maintenance ship departed the facility, broadcasting cheerful music and leaving a trail of coffee-scented exhaust, the most powerful military force in the galaxy watched in quiet resignation. In his ship, Jake was already focused on his next delivery, completely unaware that he had just prevented a galactic war. His GPS was showing 17 different locations again, but he had learned to ignore that. He would find his way eventually. He always did. After all, he was human. Getting lost was just part of the job. Asterisk.